How do you finance this location? My sibling mocked me throughout the dinner until the waiter revealed a surprise that shocked my entire clan. It all began half a decade earlier when I defied the demands my relatives had imposed on me. They always criticized my decisions, dismissing my cooking dreams as beneath our household's reputation. They had no idea that this evening, as they assembled at Harlan, one of the metropolis's top-tier eateries, to mark my sister Vanessa's engagement, they would confront how much things had evolved. My gut twists as I adjust my plain ebony dress. Occasionally, the most difficult reservations to obtain are those linked to your personal past. Raised in Westport, Connecticut, carrying the name Montgomery meant carrying expectations. We were beyond wealthy. We represented a legacy. My parents, Catherine and Robert Montgomery, constructed their personas around symbols of standing like the ideal residence, institutions, and professions. Our spacious traditional home organized events where my mom displayed us kids like awards, her satisfaction connected to how effectively we matched her idea of achievement. The Montgomery children are destined for excellence. She'd proclaimed to her associates at outdoor gatherings, my dad agreeing silently behind his whiskey tumbler. Vanessa is already aiming for Harvard Law, and David's numerical abilities are exceptional. He'll thrive as a finance expert. When visitors shifted to me, the middle offspring, my mom's grin became strained. Leah has creative inclinations. She'll discover her direction. What she meant was that I was the family's letdown. While Vanessa excelled in discussion groups and David succeeded in arithmetic competitions, I devoted countless hours in our caretaker Rosa's domain, the cooking area. Rosa, a kind soul from Italy, saw potential in me that my parents ignored. Genuine enthusiasm, you possess the talent for this art, she'd comment as I assisted her in mixing batter or finely slicing produce. The manner you sample, the way you detect scents, you grasp cuisine in your soul. By 13, I started inventing my own formulas. When my parents traveled, I began arranging hidden supper events for my peers at 16. My cooking space turned into my sanctuary where I felt truly genuine. Preparing meals is a helper's job, my dad stated when I brought up chef training in my high school junior year. Montgomery's hire cooks, they don't turn into them. To satisfy them, I submitted applications to commerce programs and ultimately joined Cornell, tracing my dad and grandpa's steps. Yet, I discovered methods to follow my real vocation via food studies options and diet classes I could rationalize as pertinent to management studies. I launched a covert dining group in my flat, billing classmates for inventive multi-course feasts to support my hidden weekend sessions with nearby cooks. My double existence continued until advanced studies, where I was halfway through a management degree that made me completely unhappy when Chef Marcel Dubois, a French gastronomy expert with 3 prestigious awards, came to the school for a talk series. He came to me after sampling my creation at a campus gathering where I'd helped with food service. "Who instructed you to make a reduction like this?" he inquired, his pronunciation heavy but his look honest. "I learned on my own," I answered, "from texts, clips, and experimentation." He gave me his contact. "You're wasting your gift here. Visit my operation in the city, and I'll mold you into something remarkable." That evening, all changed. 14 days later, I was in my parents' refined sitting room, describing why I was leaving my degree to join Chef Academy. The quiet after my statement was deep. "This is completely intolerable," my dad eventually uttered, his tone quietly threatening. "We've poured so much into your schooling." "Everything but regard for what I really want," I countered, my mom's expression stiffened. "If you chase this fancy, you do it without our monetary or any aid." Vanessa, just back from her initial law year, chuckled coldly, always the rebel. "Let's observe how long you last preparing for minimal pay." David, already at a leading investment company, just appeared ashamed for me. I departed that night with solely my individual funds and a modest bag. The following 5 years were the toughest I'd ever endured, laboring 18-hour shifts, splitting a tight flat with 3 housemates, and borrowing for chef training. But with Chef Marcel's guidance, I thrived. The cooking area's rigor, order, and innovation nourished me in ways the degree never did. Then arrived the chance that altered all. A backer who tried my dishes at one of Marcel's occasions came to me with a venture offer. Harlan launched 2 years back, with me as head cook and joint holder. Half a year on, I acquired my associates and turned into full owner. The irony didn't escape me that I'd wound up applying my commerce knowledge, though not as my parents pictured. Harlan swiftly became the town's hardest spot to book. Last month, Gourmet magazine highlighted us in their upcoming American Dining edition. During this, I kept space from my relatives, sporadic awkward calls with my mom, festive notes, but nothing major. They knew I was in cuisine but unaware of my triumph. I opted to maintain it thus. I sought recognition for my feats on my own conditions, not to ultimately gain their endorsement. So when the elaborate invite to Vanessa's betrothal feast reached my flat, I was astonished. Even more startling was the sight, my own eatery. Naturally, they couldn't have realized it was mine. They probably picked it as it was elite and magnificent, ideal for displaying their position. After days of thought, I chose to go, not for affirmation, but maybe to finally end a phase. 5 years apart had provided me insight. I felt confident enough in my successes to confront them without breaking under their examination. What I hadn't expected was how it would sense to observe them eat in my eatery and judge the plates I'd worked so diligently to refine. But that was exactly what lay ahead as I entered Harlan's large transparent entrances that night, ready to act as the battling outsider one final time. As I stepped in, the known aroma of Harlan surrounded me, turmeric, simmered vino, and the faint scent of new greens, which I demanded be supplied twice each day. Usually, this smell grounded me, recalling all I'd accomplished. Tonight, it merely increased my anxiety. I'd thoughtfully picked my attire, a basic black gown by a designer, decorated with a lone string of my grandma's jewels. My status-aware relatives would probably misconstrue my subtle sophistication as an effort to cope with scarce resources. My locks were gathered into a tidy bun, which they'd likely view as proof of my failure to pay for expert grooming. Lucas, my most seasoned attendant, noticed me right away, his gaze widening a bit in astonishment. I seldom came in as a patron via the main entrance. I offered him a gentle head shake and whispered, "Not now." He agreed quietly and continued his tasks. I could spot them from the doorway. They'd asked for the middle spot. My mom in designer wear, my dad examining the vino selection with deep concentration. Vanessa donned what appeared like fresh collection attire. Next to her was a guy I didn't recognize, probably Ethan, with combed back locks and a timepiece that shone with each arm gesture. David and his spouse Clarissa finished the group, clothed in professional outfits as if just from a crucial session. Elena, my greeter, came near with a friendly grin. "Good night, madam." She stopped herself promptly. "Your group is seated already. Can I lead you to them?" "Thanks, Elena," I murmured, valuing her tact. As we neared, my mom saw me, her gaze doing the rapid evaluation I recalled from youth. A full scan assessed the rough value of my look and deemed it insufficient. "Leah," she stated, standing to air-peck my face. "You've made it at last." We were beginning to speculate. "I'm precisely on schedule, Mom," I responded, glancing at my watch. 7 exactly. My dad rose, giving a stiff embrace followed by a clumsy tap on the shoulder. "You appear healthy," he mentioned, suggesting I hadn't kept the almost harmful slimness valued in our circle. Vanessa hardly stood, presenting her face for a peck. "This is Ethan," she announced as her betrothed stood and offered his palm. His clasp was too strong, a dominance move I knew from many commerce meetings. "Stanford undergrad, Kellogg MBA, he declared. "Just promoted to associate at a major bank. No pleasant to encounter you or I've learned of you, just qualifications and rank, the Montgomery's favored language." David provided a kinder welcome, but his wife Clarissa's grin looked strained. I discovered later she'd been assigned to book this very selective eatery for the evening's meal and was worried if it would satisfy all. "Well," my mom started as I claimed the final vacant chair. "We've selected bubbly already. Hope that's okay." I observed they'd picked the costliest choice on our menu, showy but not lavish. Standard, the eatery hummed with the atmosphere I'd strived to build. The illumination was soft for closeness, yet sufficient to highlight each plate's creative display. The sound volume hid an ideal mix between talk and seclusion. The spots were precisely arranged, near enough for vibe but distant for privacy. Each element was my choice, from the fabric feel to the specially made seats that promoted staying without unease. I saw the team's subtle responses when they understood I was placed as a visitor. Paolo, our wine expert, met my gaze as he came with the bubbly. The tiniest lift of his eyebrow inquired if I desired him to recognize me. I provided a subtle head denial. "Fine pick," he informed my dad instead, showing the container with skilled elegance before serving. "We're marking a commitment," my dad added pointlessly, obviously seeking extra attention. "Best wishes," Paolo replied fluidly. "Harlan is honored to accommodate such an important event." "I'm amazed you got a booking," I mentioned casually. "I've heard it's very tough." Ethan bent ahead. "I have links," he stated with a blink. I needed to use a favor with a contact who's tight with the leadership. I held back a response. The contact was probably Mark Thompson, a regular backer who sometimes asked for spots for colleagues. I noted mentally to talk about Ethan with him. "Well, aren't you clever," I remarked, lifting my bubbly glass to Vanessa and Ethan. "To an ideal pair and a promising tomorrow," my dad uttered. We touched glasses, and I had a tiny taste, observing the bubbly was at the exact chill I'd directed my team to keep. So my mom uttered, placing her glass and fixing her stare on me. "Share what you've been doing these last few years. You've been so mysterious." The group's attention moved to me. 5 sets of eyes evaluating and prepared to judge. "I've been operating in the gastronomy sector," I stated plainly. "Growing, developing. Are you still in that chef stage?" Vanessa exhaled as if I'd admitted a disgraceful routine. I figured by now you'd have advanced to something more meaningful. Not all are suited for the executive route, David included, his manner seeming like hidden disapproval. Ethan appeared confused. What precisely do you handle? Prep worker, event food, diverse positions, I answered unclearly. I've handled various roles. Well, we're simply pleased you're coping, my mom uttered with pretended kindness I identified. Though we've always noted our entrance is available if matters become too hard. I spotted Mia, one of our gifted attendants, nearing with a starter bite, a small orb of pressed fruit crowned with aged condiment and a tiny leaf from a unique city grower. Gift from the cooks, she uttered, cautiously setting one for each person. Her gaze connected mine shortly, a spark of devotion before she returned to expert form. Is this all? Vanessa inquired, viewing the lone morsel with displeasure. I'm famished. This is a starter bite, I clarified, a taste awakener. The feast hasn't really commenced. I understand what a starter bite is, obviously, she grumbled. I'm not unsophisticated just because I selected legal over tinkering with meals. I observed as they tried my invention. My mom took the tiniest nibble, always aware of intake. My dad inserted the whole item into his mouth, scarcely stopping to appreciate it. David and Clarissa appeared to like it, though Ethan acted out dissecting the tastes like a vino specialist, employing food words that didn't fit. Only Vanessa ignored hers. I avoid strong seasoning, she announced, though the aged item was distant from strong, having matured for 2 months in a regulated setup, a method I'd mastered over 3 years of trials. As our attendant removed the dishes, I noticed her expression of letdown at Vanessa's ignored item. In that instant I felt guarding, not of me but of my crew, who had great satisfaction in their efforts. I'd constructed Harlan not merely as an eatery, but as a unit, connected by common zeal instead of lineage. The night had barely begun, but I could already sense the former pattern establishing. I was the outsider, the one who'd picked the incorrect route and had to defend my selections. But unlike the Leah of half a decade past, I now was at this spot with a concealed power, one that would shortly flip the whole pattern. So inform us about the marriage arrangements, I uttered, intentionally moving the attention to Vanessa as the following plate came. A refined mix of heritage veggies, fresh cheese, and herb drizzle that required months to ideal. Vanessa cheered up quickly. We've booked St. Patrick's Cathedral, naturally, with a party at the Grand Hall for 400 attendees, though Mom believes we should reduce to 350. The invitees are getting cumbersome, my mom interrupted. The Harper Johnsons aren't communicating with the Carters since that regrettable boat event, so we can't place them near. I hid a grin. The seriousness they used to analyze these communal computations always surprised me. 400 appears overdone, I suggested, sampling the veggie plate. Ethan leaned in. It's connections, not only a festivity. Half those invites are bond investments. Exactly, my dad concurred. Ethan gets the communal value side. A ceremony of this level unlocks opportunities, and what about you, Leah? Vanessa questioned, her manner abruptly keen. Any chances for you, or are you still occupied with your chef work? I saw she'd scarcely sampled her plate, shifting the heritage items on her dish with clear contempt. I'm centered on my profession currently, I uttered. Profession? David uttered with a mild laugh, is that our term for it? My mom entered. Leah, love, certainly at 29 you're considering stability. There's that fine child of Margaret Thompson. He's in medical oversight, I think, very secure. I'm not seeking arrangements, Mom. Well, your choices will diminish yearly, she uttered, particularly in your situation. Before I could reply, our attendant came to remove the plate. I hadn't completely enjoyed my own invention, too stressed to relish it. Is there a problem with the item? Mia questioned Vanessa, seeing her ignored dish. Too sharp, Vanessa said offhandedly, and the items could have been fuller. I stayed silent. Those items were picked at their height that dawned from a northern grower that cultivated them just for us. I'm regretful to learn that, Mia answered with trained politeness. I'll notify the cooks. The following plate came, seared shellfish with a nutty sauce and marinated veggies, a seasonal highlight I was especially fond of. As the dishes were placed, I watched my family's responses. Now this seems hopeful, my dad uttered, slicing into a piece. He twirled his vino, a white I'd thoughtfully chosen to match this plate. Reasonable vino options here, not exceptional but okay. Paolo, hearing as he went by, gave me a fast look. I offered him a light grin. Paolo had been hired from a top award eatery in Europe and had turned down proposals from places globally to join me. So, yeah, Clarissa started, obviously attempting to involve me. David said you operate in cuisine, but you never specified what. Before I could respond, Vanessa interrupted. She's likely greeting guests somewhere, right, Leah? Applying that commerce education to assign seats and distribute lists. Actually, I commenced. No disgrace in that, my dad added. I'll begin someplace, though after 5 years I'd anticipate some advancement. I've advanced, I murmured softly. Into what? Deputy supervisor at a chain spot. Vanessa laughed at her own poke. Vanessa, David warned, displaying an uncommon bit of protection. What? I'm merely practical. She decided to discard her schooling for this interest pursuit. Decisions bring results. I tasted my vino, allowing the known tastes to calm me. And how's the legal field for you, Vanessa? Still at Lawson and Associates, her look tightened. I'm transitioning roles now, concentrating on ceremony prep. She was doing excessive hours, Ethan added. I informed her my spouse doesn't have to toil at some office post-marriage. She can handle volunteer efforts like my mom. I saw a hint of annoyance in Vanessa's gaze before she switched to a calm grin of consent. The following plate was a noodle item with crafted ribbons, fresh legumes, cured meat, and herb, one of our key offerings spotlighted in publications. The serving amount here is ridiculous, my mom commented, looking at the stylishly shown noodles. All this expense for a few nibbles. It's about excellence over amount, Mom, I uttered. The sampling selection is designed to lead you through different tastes and feels. In my era, eateries provided a real feast for your funds, my dad uttered. This fancy stuff is just a method to bill more for less. I watched as he chopped at his noodles instead of rolling them, snapping the fine threads I'd formed by hand that dawn. So how precisely are you covering a spot like this on a service wage? Vanessa questioned directly. This is one of the town's most expensive eateries. I sensed all gazes on me. I handle my budget wisely, I uttered. Oh, come on, Vanessa sneered. A feast here costs more than you likely make in a day. Who are you seeing? Is he paying? I'm not seeing anyone, I answered steadily. Then how can you conceivably cover the spot? She urged. Are you borrowing? Overloading cards to maintain looks? Vanessa, David warned once more, appearing uncomfortable. No, I seek responses, she uttered. We all adjusted our plans for this feast, she demanded at one of the town's elite eateries. Either she's careless with funds or concealing something. The following plate arrived, ideally prepared poultry with fruit reduction and grain. Chef Elena, who managed the operation without me, had done it perfectly. This poultry is not done, Ethan uttered after one taste. I looked at his dish. The poultry was ideally medium as planned. It's intended to be that way, I uttered. Medium is best for poultry cut. I like my protein fully cooked, he uttered, signaling an attendant. When Mia neared, he talked without eyeing her. This is uncooked. Return it and prepare it right. I noticed a burst of irritation in Mia's gaze, swiftly hidden by expert courtesy. Certainly, sir, sorry. As she claimed his dish, I met her look and gave a minor agreement. She'd understand to have the cooks make a new cut rather than ruin the first. Really, Leah, my mom uttered after Mia departed. You still haven't responded to Vanessa's inquiry. How are you covering this feast? The strain of the spot was evident now. I sensed the known pressure in my torso, a feeling from innumerable family feasts in youth, the feeling of being trapped, assessed, and deemed inadequate before I could talk. But I was no more that unsure youth. I'd created something I valued, and it was fully mine. I thought about disclosing all then, observing their looks change as they understood whose eatery they occupied and whose plates they'd been so lightly judging. Before I could choose, Ethan's ruined poultry came back, devoid of all softness and detail. Far improved, he stated after one taste, though I could observe from opposite that it was parched and chewy. My dad gestured for the vino selection again. Let's get another container, something grander now. As Paolo neared with the bound list, my dad acted out scanning before indicating one of our most expensive choices, a red costing over $800. This will suffice, he proclaimed. I recognized that container well. I'd chosen it on a journey to Europe last year, encountering the producer directly. It was superb, but totally unfit for the present and future plates. May I propose something that pairs better with the leftover items? I suggested. My dad dismissed me. I believe I understand my vinos, Leah. Paolo met my gaze, quietly asking for direction. I gave a minor agreement, allowing my dad his preference. This wasn't the conflict to wage. The pokes went on through the night, through the last main plate and sweet. A broken-down citrus pie, one of my favorites. Each plate attracted some judgment. Each try I made to add to the discussion turned into proof of my shortfall. By the time brew was offered, I was mentally exhausted. The twin pressure of bearing my family's scorn while seeing them lightly judge my life's effort was almost intolerable. Then arrived the instant I'd both feared and expected, the tab. Lucas sneered with a dark folder holding the check and set it quietly in the center. My dad grabbed for it automatically, from male tradition, but Ethan stopped. Please, Robert, permit me, he pressed with the refined allure of one who employs even kindness as a control tactic. View it as my gift for the event. My dad gave a token objection before yielding. I observed Ethan open the holder, his look moving from assured smirk to hardly hidden astonishment as he noted the sum. Is there a problem? My dad questioned, seeing the shift. No, Ethan answered fast, just checking the figures. I knew what he viewed. A feast for 7 with top vino matches, unique extra requests, and the $800 red would surpass $3,000. Not lavish for an eatery of Harlan's level, but surely notable. He grabbed his billfold, gradually extracting a premium card, making sure all saw the elite mark. Vanessa, maybe detecting his unease, grabbed the chance to restart her prior questioning. So, Leah, she commenced, her tone filled with fake warmth. You never clarified how you're handling to add to this opulent feast. We wouldn't wish you straining yourself money-wise for us. All gazes shifted to me. I could sense the known pattern returning, Vanessa the victor, me the faltering flop. I can handle my portion, I uttered plainly. Can you, however, she urged, bending forward, since we all recognize what service earns, can you even manage the spot? The group went quiet. The query lingered, so intentionally harsh that even my parents appeared uneasy. Vanessa, my mom whispered, maybe this isn't. No, I desire to learn, Vanessa persisted, her gaze fixed on mine. We've passed the full night acting as if all's okay, that Leah's decision to toss her schooling hasn't left her barely managing. I believe we merit some truth. I sensed a hot flush climb from my chest to my cheeks. After half a decade of space, of constructing my own path in victory, nothing altered. I was still the family's failure, compelled to defend my being. Ethan, perhaps detecting an opportunity to reclaim dominance after the tab's surprise, added, if you require assistance with your part, just mention. No embarrassment. I don't require assistance, I uttered, my tone tight. Then how precisely are you settling for this? Vanessa required. Because a feast here exceeds what you likely earn weekly. I parted my lips to answer, prepared to disclose all, when Ethan scowled at the tab. Hold on, there's a fault here, he uttered. They've charged only for the drinks, not the cuisine. He turned firmly to Lucas. Pardon, there's an error on our tab. Lucas sneered with ideal pacing, as if he'd anticipated this instant. He probably did. My crew knew me sufficiently to monitor this develop. Is there a concern, sir? He inquired. Yes, you've billed us solely for the beverages, not the feast, Ethan uttered, indicating the tab. Lucas looked at the check, then at me, his look unsure. At that point I decided. The act had lasted sufficiently. I offered Lucas a tiny agreement. There's no fault, sir, Lucas answered calmly. The meal part has been handled. By who? My dad questioned, confused. Lucas shifted to me, his expert manner yielding to a kind grin. Good to see you, Miss Alexandra. Your regular spot is set for your backer session. Would you want me to manage this? The group became completely quiet, 6 sets of eyes gazing at me with levels of stun and incredulity. Thanks, Lucas, I murmured gently, my tone firm despite the rush pulsing in me. Yes, please process Mr. Caldwell's drink charge. The remainder is complimentary, as always. Excellent, Miss Leah, he uttered, claiming the holder from Ethan's now slack hold. Chef Elena noted she'd appreciate your thoughts on the fresh seasonal options when available. I'll visit the operation before my session, I informed him. As Lucas left, I gazed straight at my relatives. Their responses varied from bewilderment to amazement to emerging awareness. What's occurring? My mom finally questioned. I inhaled deeply. The instant I'd both feared and privately desired for half a decade had come. Greetings to Harlan, I uttered plainly. My eatery. The quiet extended for seeming forever. My dad regained first, his look changing from confused to strategic. Your eatery, he murmured, you operate here. No, Dad, I uttered, an odd peace overtaking me. I possess Harlan. I'm the lead cook and only owner. That's not possible, Vanessa exclaimed. This is one of the Metropolis's most selective spots. It's been showcased in key journals. Yes, I agreed. Gourmet last month. Cuisine publication prior. The local paper awarded us top rating last year. Ethan gazed at me as if I'd begun an unknown tongue. But you mentioned you handled cuisine. You were unclear about all. Because I wished to observe how you'd behave if you believed I was having trouble, I uttered. And you've all demonstrated that clearly this night. My mom's fingers went to her jewels, her habit when unsettled socially. Dear, why didn't you share this success? Her stress on success revealed everything. Victory rendered my selections acceptable afterward in a manner zeal never could. Do you desire the complete tale? I questioned, scanning the group. Without awaiting a response, I proceeded. After I departed half a decade back, I relocated to the metropolis with my limited reserves. I leased a small space in a borough flat with 3 mates. For a year, I did 3 positions: early prep at a cafe from dawn to midday, station cook at a central spot from afternoon to late, and end-of-week turns at a pastry shop. I took a drink of liquid, noting their restless looks. I rested 4 hours nightly. I had sores and scars along my limbs. I examined methods relentlessly in my scarce free times. Chef Marcel, who initially urged me to follow gastronomy, guided me. I turned his deputy within a year and a half. 2 years and a half ago, I was at an exclusive gathering at Marcel's spot. A visitor, Thomas Reed of Reed Ventures, sampled my key plate and requested to see the cook. He was amazed to discover someone so youthful had made what he termed the most original plate he'd experienced in ages. I motioned around. Thomas became my backer. We located this area, a closed venue then. I created the idea, designed the options, recruited the team, and supervised each aspect from the lights to the unique dishes. But the expense, my dad uttered, his thoughts still on the money. A spot of this quality here must have needed vast sums. 3,400,000 for the starting funds, I verified. Thomas included 2 more backers. We started to quick praise, thanks in part to Marcel's backing and sector ties. Half a year on, we were earning. 3 months later, I applied the spot's results to get funding and acquire my backers. I've been the loan holder for more than a year. That's why you proposed we gather here, Vanessa uttered. So, what are your views on this tale? Do you concur with the events, or do you view it otherwise? Share your thoughts below. We'd enjoy hearing from you. And if you liked the clip, be sure to thumbs up, join the page, and tap the alert so you catch all our future tales. Catch you next time.